Hey everyone, and welcome back to another lyrical breakdown. This is your lady friend Bonnie, and I am excited to do this again. I'm enjoying that all of you guys are enjoying it, so that makes me happy. It makes me want to keep doing it. So yeah, go ahead, like, subscribe, and comment on this video. If you do that on this or any other video of ours, you are automatically entered to win some Amazon money. So we're gonna give away a $100 gift card, a $50 gift card, and a $25 gift card when we hit 1,000 subscribers. And if we hit 1,000 subscribers by February 20th, that's when they're changing all the YouTube rules. Then we're gonna give away 2 extra $25 gift cards. So that's all you have to do is like, subscribe, and comment on any of our videos. So yeah, all right, let's do this. Come hang out with me. Let's go through a song. So this week's song that I'm going to do is I Used to Love Her, and it's a capital H dot E capital sorry. And this week's song that we're going to do is I Used to Love Her, and it's H-E-R with periods in between. And that's by Common, and as he used to be known when the song came out, he was Common Sense still. And then there was some sort of, I guess, legality issues with him using that name, because I think a reggae artist was also using that name. So he just cut it, and he's just Common now, that you may know. But yeah, I didn't know he was rapping, for a really long time. I didn't know that he was, I kind of just thought he just kind of showed up out of nowhere. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't know he was like an old school artist. So it's going to be fun trying to like dig through some of his stuff. So this song came out on September 27th, 1994. And it was off of the Resurrection album. So yeah, let's just get right on into this. Let's check it out. Okay, so right away we get into the song. And it is the hook, kind of. And it just starts with a yes, yes, y'all, and you don't stop. To the beat, y'all, and you don't stop. Yes, yes, y'all, and you don't stop. A 1, 2, y'all, and you don't stop. A yes, yes, y'all, and you don't stop. And to the beat, common sense will be the sure shot. Come on. So that's sort of the hook that like we see, basically that format throughout the entire song. So like these lyrics, the a yes, yes, y'all, and you don't stop, these are like really common through kind of like the OGs of hip hop songs and artists and stuff like that. So this was a common phrase, so he's kind of paying homage to that and kind of bringing that a little bit more like mainstream, I guess. And he won't stop. I think that's also what he's trying to say here. So I think that also too, because he listened to a lot of hip hop as we, kind of go through this song, he takes that influence and he wants to make it. And so it just kind of comes naturally to him, using something that a lot of other artists have used as well. And also Common will be a winner. No worries. That's, he's the sure shot. Okay. So let's get into verse 1. I met this girl when I was 10 years old, and what I loved most, she had so much soul. She was old school when I was just a shorty, never knew throughout my life she would be there for me. On the regular, not a church girl, she was secular, not about the money, those studs was Mike checking her. But I respected her, she hit me in the heart, a few New York blanks had did her in the park. So, he met this girl when he was quite young, and what he loved about her was her soul. She was very experienced, and he was just kind of like a kid, like he was a bit more innocent. He's telling this, so obviously like from like a futuristic kind of story, he's kind of looking back and reflecting, and how important she would be throughout his life. She's not a religious girl. She's not about the money, but she is telling her message loud and clear, and he respects this girl and may even love her. Even though she's maybe a bit of a hoe and has slept with several guys in a park. Okay, next set. She was there, she was there for me and I was there for her. Pull out a chair for her, turn on the air for her, and just cool out, and listen to her, sitting on a bone, wishing that I could do her. Eventually, if it was meant to be, then it would be, 'cause we related physically and mentally. And she was fun then, I'd be geeked out when she'd come around. Slim was fresh, yo, when she was underground. Original, pure, untampered, a down sister. Boy, I tell you, I miss her. So they clearly have like a good relationship and they're kind of dependent on each other, but it seems like they're sort of friends, not really lovers. So he's still chivalrous, and he pulls out a chair. He puts on like maybe like the air conditioning or a fan because he turns on the air. And they're just going to relax and he's going to just listen to her. He's just like a good friend maybe to her. Um, and he's still kind of aroused and he still wants to have sex with her. And he's hopeful that at some point it'll work out. They work well on all aspects. So he's kind of like, well, she's the girl for me. He has a good time with her and they talk about nerdy stuff. And Slim is slang actually for a girl, and he sees her as a pure black woman, like almost innocent and unexposed to the world around her. So she's just kind of like his ideal girl. And again, he's looking back and he's reflecting and he's saying, how much he misses her. So, yeah. So we've got the hook again. I'm not really going to go through it. It's the yes, yes, y'all, and you don't stop kind of thing again. The hip hop ancestry is right in there. So he's just kind of, yeah, doing his thing. Okay, on to verse 2. Now, periodically, I would see old girl at the clubs and at the house parties. She didn't have a body, but she started getting thick quick. Did a couple of videos and became Afrocentric. Out goes the weave, in goes the braid, beads, and medallions. She was on that tip about stopping the violence, about my people. She was teaching me by not preaching to me, but speaking to me. So again, he's just kind of like running into this girl occasionally and at parties and events. She started developing quickly and gaining weight maybe. Just because like when I hear the word thick, I automatically think of, maybe a girl who has booty or, there's certain parts about her are thick. So, I mean, maybe she's growing, right? And maybe becoming more like attractive, like as well. And starting to show her curves, I guess. I don't know. So she was in a couple of music videos, but now she's changed. She's changed and she's feeling more connected to Africa. She's becoming more natural and she's taking off her wig or her weave, and she's just kind of enjoying her new natural style, and she's feeling a bit more like raw and like true to herself and her roots. So she's preaching about being more peaceful, and it was a time of, there was a lot of violence, I guess, that was going on, and so she was definitely, trying to put out a positive message. She got a voice and she was using it to educate Black people. I think that's clear from this. And Common doesn't like it when people are preaching about certain things, and he doesn't hear her doing that, but it's more like a conversation that they're having, and he's just like absorbing and taking in that whole message. Okay, so in a method that was leisurely, so easily I approach, she dug my rap, that's how we got close. But then she broke to the West Coast, and that was cool, 'cause around the same time I went away to school. And I'm a man of expanding, so why should I stand in her way? She'd probably get her money in LA. So she's a pretty chilled out lady. So he finds it easy to be her friend. And she likes his rap. Then she kind of up and left to the West Coast of the United States. I went to California. But it was fine because he was leaving for school. And they both kind of went their separate ways. And, he's just kind of, he wants her to grow, and he believes that everybody needs to kind of spread their wings and grow. And so he wasn't going to stop her from doing that. And I guess she wasn't going to stop him from going away to go to school. So, I think that's good. And then it's just kind of like, well, she'll probably make good money in LA at least. Okay, and she did stud. She got big pub, but what was foul? She said that the pro-black was going out of style. She said Afrocentricity was of the past, so she got into R&B, hip hop, hip house, bass, and jazz. Now, black music is black music, and it's all good. I wasn't salty. I wasn't salty. She was with the boys in the hood, cause that was good for her. She was becoming well-rounded, and I thought it was dope how she was on that freestyle shit, just having fun, not worried about anyone, and you could tell by how her titties hung. So she started getting publicity, but it wasn't good. She changed her tune and her message, and she kind of left that Afrocentric style and message behind, and she kind of got involved into other types of Black American types of music. And he's not upset with her, for changing, her style or her influence, because it's still derived from and for Black people. So he's not upset because she's hanging out with other guys, because she's learning from them. And he's just, just kind of being like, yeah, good for her. She's learning how to freestyle and is taking it easy and enjoying life. And she's still herself a natural woman, I'm guessing, just because she still has her natural breasts. So I wasn't really sure. I guess she's not wearing a bra. Maybe she's still a bit hippie in that sense, or I don't know. I don't really know what else it could be. Okay, so then we have the hook again. And then we go into verse 3. I might have failed to mention that this chick was creative. Once the man got to her, he altered her native. Told her if she got an image and a gimmick that she could make money, and she did it like a dummy. Now I see her in commercials. She's universal. She used to only swing it with the inner city circle. Now she be in the burbs, looking rock and dressing hippie, and on some dumb shit when she comes to the city. Talking about popping glocks, serving rocks, and hitting switches. Now she's a gangster rolling with gangsta bitches. So he wants to remind us that this girl that he's singing about is creative. But once the man or corporations kind of got a hold of her, they changed her to what she believed in, and kind of did what was popular or what would make her a star. And yeah, that's it. If she changed and had become unique, had something unique that was going for her, that she would make it. And foolishly, she did change. She's becoming more famous and kind of more pop culture-y by being in commercials, like a sellout. She used to only have fans in the inner cities, where a lot of the hoods are, but now she's kind of making it, and her talent is spreading to the suburbs, and she's acting like a hippie. And I think also too, when I think of the hippies in that era, that 90s era, there was a lot of counterculture that was going on back then, and I think that was there were a lot of people that were influenced by a hippie kind of movement, Kurt Cobain, and that grunge period. It kind of the style of the 90s was very hippie-esque, I guess. Yeah, and I think that's the weed that he's talking about as well. When she comes back to the city, she's talking differently and more gangster, and she's clearly changed. Okay, so on to the next set of lyrics. This is pretty much the final end of the song here. So always smoking blunts and getting drunk, telling me sad stories. Now she only fucks with the funk, stressing how hardcore and real she is. She was really the realest before she got into showbiz. I did her not just to say that I did it, but I'm committed, girl. He's committed. But so many blanks hit it. That she's just not the same, letting all those groupies do her. I see blank slamming her and taking her to the sewer. But I'm going to take her back, hoping that the shit stop, because who I'm talking about, y'all, is hip-hop. So she's wild now. She's partying. She's got a lot of sad stories from LA to tell. She likes funk music now. She keeps kind of playing up how gangster and tough she is. And he just remembers a time before she got into showbiz, and that's when she was the purest. Or I guess had been, been taken over by like the man, right? They had sex, but he's not bragging about it. He still loves her, even though she's been with a lot of other guys and fans. They treated her terribly and dragged her through the sewers. He's hoping to, bring her back. And we find out that this entire song, Common wasn't even talking about a girl at all. He was simply talking about hip hop music. And I think that that's really cool when an artist can do that, like kind of tell a story and you think it's going to be about one thing and then you find out that it's something completely different. I just think that's cool. So, well, let's just finish up the song. And then the hook comes on again. And then we get the bridge, and it's, I used to love her, 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 went and fucked up all the shit, y'all. And H.E.R. is, I found two different definitions of what the acronym means. I found one one that meant hearing every rhyme. And another source that I was looking up says it stands for hip hop in its essence is real. But anyways, and he's just kind of like, well, it's all fucked up now, but he's still trying to do it. Like it's his like passion, And then the outro, you ain't got your woman in check, man. I think you're overstepping your bounds just a little. I can't do this anymore. So someone is asking him to get this woman in check, but the woman is hip hop. But he can't control what she becomes. Hip hop will grow and change, and it already has. He's clearly frustrated with the whole situation, but he's dealing with it. So actually, yeah, what I'm going to do is kind of go through like the whole song again, if you want to stick to it, and just go through it and look at it from the different perspective of it being about hip hop instead of it being about a girl, and just kind of like seeing what, there's two different ways to look at this song. So I thought it would be an interesting experience. So let's go do that. Okay, so I'm not going to go through like the hook again because it's not really, there wasn't really anything different about that. So let's just go into the verses. I met this girl when I was 10 years old, and what I loved most, she had so much soul. She was old school when I was just a shorty, never knew throughout my life she would be there for me. On the regular, not a church girl, she was secular, not about the money, those studs was Mike checking her, but I respected her, and she hit me in the heart. A few New York blanks had did her in the park. So he's talking about first being exposed to hip-hop music at the age of 10, and it has soul and is derived from soul music. Hip hop will always be there for him. It's not about church, gospel type of music. It's for everyone. And it's more about the message and less about making money. And I think that he's kind of like, that's kind of what he sees at the very beginning. And he's just kind of, at the end we see it becomes about making money. So even though some people fucked her up, Common is still respectful and loves his hip hop. But she was there for me and I was there for her. Pull out a chair for her, turn on the air for her, and just cool out and listen to her, sitting on a bone, wishing that I could do her. Eventually, if it was meant to be, then it would be, because we related physically and mentally. And she was fun then. I'd be geeked out when she'd come around. Slim was fresh, yo, when she was underground. Original, pure, untampered, a down sister. Boy, I tell you, I miss her. So hip hop is just sort of like the relationship that he's talking about. So he relaxes with the music. He turns on the air, which could maybe mean like a radio station. And he's just kind of like relaxing and listening to it, and he can just it's his sort of like meditation. It's like his way to just like relax. But he gets excited and thinks that he could maybe make that kind of music. So I think that he's also kind of like excited at the same time. And maybe it'll happen because the music is a part of who he is, as, a black person from, I think he's actually from Chicago, but, hip hop really started in, the New York suburbs. So I think that it was, I don't know, I guess if he's not from there, then I guess it doesn't matter, but whatever. And yeah, so he's geeking out, and maybe that's when he like starts like writing or spitting, and or maybe he like researches like different artists, and like that's like him like geeking out to it. The music is still underground and is at its purest, and he's thinking about like how he misses that kind of like pure and unfiltered hip hop that he loved so much, like growing up, and like it, like that was his like beginning influence on hip hop. And then he kind of was like, oh crap, like they messed it up, they changed it all. So again, we have the hook, and again the phrase, we already talked about it. It's old school lyrics. Now periodically I would see old girl at the clubs and at house parties. She didn't have a body, but she started getting thick quick. Did a couple of videos and became Afrocentric. Out goes the weave, and in goes the braid beads medallions. She was on that tip about stopping the violence. About my people, she was teaching me by not preaching to me, but speaking to me. So hip hop is starting to become a bit more cool and like mainstream, and it's being played at parties and clubs. The music doesn't have a body just because it's just like a soul, right? So it doesn't have a body, but it is gaining popularity and becoming more mainstream. At this time, I think like hip hop started being more about being black and embracing your blackness and your Africanness. And we see this just by like looking at like lots of artists and like the messages and sounds that were in their songs at this time, like in like the early 90s, like Queen Latifah, I can think of, off the top of my head. She did something similar like in her style and what she wore in her first album. And like there's lots of other people that have done kind of like African style, and I think that was really interesting that people were embracing that, and just embracing where they're from and who they are. And I think that that's kind of like something great, like that's part of your individuality and what makes you unique, and what makes you also like a community that comes together. So I just think that's cool. So, and then also the tip, apparently that is in that song, that is in this song. The tip is apparently Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest. And because of the Afrocentric influence, like Common is learning about his African heritage and his like black people and like his African people, and like he's kind of like reflecting, and it's not like an overbearing message to listen to. It's fun, it's personal, and I think that that's why everybody likes hip hop, right? In a method that was leisurely, so easily I approach. She dug my rap, that's how we got close. But then she broke to the West Coast, and that was cool, because around the same time I went away to school. And I'm a man of expanding, so why should I stand in her way? She'd probably get her money in LA. So he's listening to the music, and it's easy. Also, like the easily I approach is apparently a line from Eazy-E, which is interesting, like that he did that, I guess. Hip hop was growing, it was including like in his style too, and he was learning, and that's how he learned to love it. But what started in the New York suburbs has now spread across the country to LA, to California. And I guess he didn't have time to focus on music. And he went off to school, and he went to a Florida university, and he studied business administration. So I thought that was pretty cool. And like it was different too. Like he wasn't, maybe he stopped focusing on music and hip hop. Like, obviously he was in school and he was in a different state, and, whatever. And I think that was, he probably wasn't focusing. And then when he went back to hip hop and saw what it was becoming and what it had become without him and without his, I guess he didn't get a chance really to see it. So I guess maybe it was abrupt or something. But, yeah, I think that's kind of like the message that he's kind of giving with this whole song. And he wasn't critical of the growth of hip hop. Plus, everybody can make money off of it. So, that's good for, his people. That's kind of what he's saying. And anything is good. And she did stud. She got big pub. But what was foul? She said that the pro-black was going out of style. She said Afrocentricity was of the past. So she got into R&B, hip house, bass, and jazz. Now, black music is black music, and it's all good. I wasn't salty. She was with the boys in the hood. Because that was good for her. She was becoming well-rounded. I thought it was dope how she was on that freestyle shit, just having fun, not worried about anyone, and you could tell by how her titties hung. So hip hop grew, but it had changed and it switched up the style and it changed its sound. And it's all, again, it's still black people, it's still me, it's black music, and he's all for that. Like he's just, go us, right? And I mean, not me, go them or us. I don't know. um, the Boys in the Hood is a reference there, and this is kind of what started a beef between Common and Ice Cube, because Ice Cube felt that like it was an attack, like a personal attack on him, or that he was being made fun of, and there were several references about them kind of throughout the song, and so like I could see how Ice Cube would get upset, but then some people were just saying like, oh, he's just too sensitive or whatever. But I don't know. And plus, like, the Boys in the Hood can also, I mean, yeah, it's the name of the movie, but I think it's also like talking about like the gangsters and like like the people or the tough guys, I guess, that maybe started making the hits, like the West Coast hits. So, Tupac and NWA and Snoop Dogg and like all of them. And like they were quite, I think Snoop Dogg and I think Tupac also too was in a gang. So I think that, like he's just kind of talking about like this is, it's all of you guys that are starting, making it violent and spreading this kind of message. So as much as it changed, it hasn't become anything fake though, and it's still natural because that's the story of black people. I mean, if that's what they are doing, then they need to tell their story, and why shouldn't they? And so I think that this was just like a really interesting like way to get it out, and I think that Common still likes that, but he's still kind of like, yeah, but it's not what it used to be. So he's kind of like clinging on to this, and he's not going to make gangster music, and that's fine. And I think that there's room for, there's different types, there's room for everybody. I think that he was just a bit grumpy, even though he says he's not salty. I think he might be a little bit, or was, I guess. So then we have the hook again, and on to verse 3. Okay, so I might have failed to mention that this chick was creative. Once the man got to her, he altered her native. Told her if she got an image and a gimmick that she could make money, and she did it like a dummy. Now I see her in commercials. She's universal. She used to only swing it with the inner city circle. Now she be in the burbs looking rock and dressing hippie and on some dumb shit when she comes to the city. Talking about popping glocks, serving rocks, and hitting switches. Now she's a gangster rolling with gangster bitches. So hip hop is an art form that can change, but like once like the corporations, again, like the man or whatever, gets like a hold of it, like they changed it and like, they ruined it, I guess, or they made it, about making money, right? So when it changed the roots and like the heart of like what hip hop basically is or was, and basically sold out to make money. So now hip hop is played everywhere and it's mainstream. It's spread to the suburbs and to the white people, I guess, who live there, and it became very gangster and very violent. Okay, so on always smoking blunts and getting drunk, telling me sad stories, now she only fucks with the funk, stressing how hardcore and real she is. She was really the realest before she got into showbiz. I did her not just to say that I did it, but I'm committed. Girl, he's committed. But so many blanks hit it. that when she's not that she's just not the same, letting all of these groupies do her. I see blank slamming her and taking her to the sewer, but I'm gonna take her back, hoping that the shit stop, because who I'm talking about, y'all, is hip hop. So hip hop is all about like kind of drugs and alcohol now, and kind of like bad influences, and sad stories are being told through hip hop as well. So like murder and rape and people dying and tough times in the hood and drive-bys and like a lot of things that were being written about at this time. And it's become more gangster and wanting to make that sorry. And it's become more gangster and wanting to make that, like real hip hop, when he thinks that it was better before. All these influences like started taking over and like, getting in the way, I guess. He makes hip hop because he loves it and not because he likes to brag about it or brag with it or through it. He just loves the music, even though it's kind of become all fucked up and different from where it began. And he wants to bring back what he believes is hip hop without all of the gangster stuff, because it's his true love, it's his passion, it's what he wants to do. So he's gonna like stick with it, and he's going to like keep trying to bring like those positive messages, I guess, instead of like the negative ones. I think that's what he was trying to say. But I think that there were positive messages in all of it. So I think that he was just a bit antsy about the whole thing, right? And this whole song became an attack on West Coast hip hop artists, kind of against Common. Like they were all kind of like, this guy's talking crap about everything that we've done and all of this music that we've made and how great it is and people are loving it. And, you know, he's just kind of like, why is he hating on us? Like, you know, there's room for everybody. I'm sure it wasn't quite well that, you know, I don't think it came out quite like that, but I think that it was, you know, we know what it was, right? So I don't really know if that was like Common's intention to like kind of be like pointing fingers at people. But I mean, there were a few kind of things that were dropped in there that were, it could be that it was one thing, but I mean, it could be that it was something else, and that it was kind of directed, but you know, whatever. So there were counter arguments in songs that were directed at Common afterwards, and including West Side Slaughterhouse, which was a song written by West Coast Connection, which is kind of like a super group at the time that Ice Cube was involved in. And like, so they were kind of like, I guess it became a beef, right? Right. So they were just like rapping like against each other, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's a fun like listen. I mean, it's a great song, I think, as well. And it's really interesting to see like the Common that we know now, and for me, like I'm only discovering him like as he is now, and it's interesting to kind of go back and see his older stuff and his stuff, like just like how his perspective on everything, on hip hop and everything that was changing at the time. And I think that this song was referenced also by a lot of other rappers. So it is a song that like definitely left its mark in hip hop history. So thanks for listening to this hip hop breakdown with me. I enjoyed doing it, and if you enjoy listening to it, just like it. Leave me a message below, and I'll definitely comment on it. Yeah, so stick around. There's going to be a lot more coming your way. So I'm really glad you got to hang out with me tonight, or whenever you're listening to this. And yeah, I can't wait to do the next one. So I'll see you later. Bye.